Mute button. A convenient feature until you forget it's been depressed.
That's fair. Sorry, I just opened a Sprite that had been sitting for months
Yeah.
and apparently it exploded. I'm not sure who shook it up or what, or if just me getting it upstairs shook it up enough, but that was crazy. Got all over my keyboard. We're starting off right.
That's why I'm a 7 Up guy. You know, you don't take chances. Spriting it.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel? Sorry, I'm a little thrown off. We haven't been here in a while.
Yeah. Going great. Just locked up Drake London on a
You're
trade
welcome.
with my friend Christian here during
Yeah,
the what I would call the intro.
it's been like 40 minutes,
It's
but
been a deep. It's been yeah. If you want your fantasy football TED talk, we have it
we
here.
could just
Just ask
release
for
that
it.
as a secret Patreon episode.
That's right. The bonus footage for those. I wonder if we're in anybody's Spotify wrap up that came
Oh,
out
I
today.
bet we're in Danny's. I'll have to ask him about
Dude,
that if he does it
Danny,
on
what a
Spotify.
guy, man.
What a guy. What a lad.
What a fan.
All right,
How are you
well,
doing?
I'm doing good, Selling London feels a little um gross, but the return was nice, so I'll take it. I just hope I'm not putting myself back into rebuild territory for next year, but we will see.
Oh.
Um,
Yeah, I guess for all those non for the belt listeners, I gave him a 25 and a 27 first
yeah, which I
for London.
think seems about fair. Maybe a little bit of an overpay on your end, but you're trying to make a move to get into the playoffs. I
Freaking
am,
week 14 buys, dude.
yeah, those are tough. I am on the outside looking in of those same playoffs. So that being said, we're going to talk some playoffs here. So this week we are going to get into some surprising players on playoff teams in the four dynasty leagues we are in, and some disappointing players on teams that missed the playoffs. Um, and kind of just go over that, and then we're going to hit you with a few IDP league winners. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this episode. Do you wanna take us off with the surprising players?
Yeah, yeah. So my approach to this was I looked over like 5 leagues. We've got for the belt, we've got the roasted, our defensive league. We also do the fresh duds, which is a 10-team super flex dynasty jersey league, and then I've got my big time House of Buckets redraft. So I looked through these 5 leagues and I looked at like the number one and the number two teams in each of these leagues. And then I looked at the bottom two teams in each of
Hmm.
these leagues. And I just looked for some consistency between the rosters to see players that jumped out at me that were a little bit surprising to see consistently on both the top end rosters and then separately on the bottom end rosters. And I mean, obviously the clear one for me, it's hard to call it a surprise, but I feel like it is a surprise. It's gonna be Joe Mixon for
Hmm.
me.
Okay.
So yeah, it's surprising to me um, because age is becoming a distraction almost in the running back position for years. We wait for a drop off or we suspect guys to be, phased out. And now it's like it's a weird distraction, like I'm saying. It's almost like the wide receivers that have bad quarterbacks, but they still get buried in targets and are awesome. Um, that's I feel like the age is becoming that kind of a an unnecessary hesitation for
Hmm.
the running back position. But I don't know. After 7 years with Cincy, he changes teams. There's kind of a question mark of how it was all going to play out. But I mean, he's having a great year, man. He's
Yeah,
running back six.
6. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got 12 total touchdowns this year, 11 on the ground. Um, it's pretty incredible. He's doing 4.3 yards per carry, and he's on pace to like inch towards career high in carries, despite missing a few games. So right now he's at 205, but he's on pace to hit like 285, get close to that 300 number. So it's pretty exciting. I know we've talked about Houston and the run game and how they had some ground to make up, and it's kind of surprising they've only gone from 22nd in rush attempts in 2023 to 16th this year. And I
Hmm.
guess I would have expected his success to give them a little bit more of a bump, but as far as rushing yards and carries, it's really only 5 or 6 spots up. But the big thing is they have 14 rushing touchdowns through 13 games, which is tied for sixth in the league. And last year, their whole season only amounted to 10 touchdowns on the ground. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, I think obviously he's doing big things. I say surprising because it feels surprising, but I mean he had 12 touchdowns last year, 9 the year before that, 16 the prior year. So it's been consistent success. He's been a top 10 running back the past 4 years. But to me, it was surprising. And he's on like 3 out of 5 of those top two teams out of those
Hmm.
leagues. So 60% rostered on teams that are smashing it. And he was affordable, and
Hmm.
he's definitely living up to the legend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, I had Joe Mixon on my honorable mention spot
Nice. Okay.
here.
Sweet.
Only because so I only did the dynasty leagues we're in because I'm in like
Ah.
4 or 5 redrafts, and I just didn't feel like
Mhm.
looking at all that. And we're a dynasty podcast. And so Joe
Absolutely.
Mixon made honorable mention for me just because right now he's currently sitting on only 2 playoff teams, but there's an asterisk there because if certain things break a certain way in our roasted league, he could be in the playoffs on
Okay.
another roster. And then, yeah, I mean, just dittoing everything you're saying, RB6, 21 points per game this year, and was basically an afterthought when he went to Houston. Like maybe some people were in on him, but for the most part, people weren't. So yeah, no, I like Mixon a lot there. I will keep it with the running back. And I'm actually gonna go with my boy Aaron Jones over in
Ooh.
Minnesota.
Okay.
He's on 3 playoff rosters as of now, our For the Belt League, D League, and the Fresh Duds League. I believe you have him in the Fresh Duds League.
Amen,
Um,
brother.
maybe not as good as the RB6, but the RB17 on the year, 14 points per game. He's had 5 weeks with 18 or more points. So just kind of continuing that career of being like a really boom guy, but usually a or a decently high floor. He has a dud game every now and then. Like last week, he had 2 fumbles, but also was kind of an afterthought going to Minnesota. I feel like he every year was a forgotten about running back who definitely people could have used on their rosters, but everyone just thought that he's not going to do it again. And here he is with the potential to be a top 10 running back again. Obviously, he'd have to do some work here in the last portion of the season, but yeah, I think Aaron Jones was surprising that he was on so many playoff rosters.
Yeah, it's something about changing teams and being 30 years old. I'm telling you, it's like today is like, or this year is the year of the blue hairs, the journeyman. It's just pretty impressive, but I'm glad to see him doing well after changing teams. I don't even know what to say about it. Definitely need to get me some fresh championships. I'm having a rough time. I'm in second place in like 4 leagues. I'm first place in zero, so that's kind of heartbreaking. I need to break that barrier, claim the number one spot. But
Didn't you get it
uh,
last year?
yeah, for
Oh,
sure. Yeah, it was
okay.
me and you,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
champions, dude. I've still got my my Nick Bolton jersey. I 100% regret not getting the James Conner number
Damn,
6 white jersey. And if I win it this year, I'm
that's what you're gonna
getting the
do.
James Conner number
Fair enough.
6 white jersey.
I have been wearing my Jaden Reed jersey basically every game this year. So,
Nice, man. I never wear my jerseys. I don't know why. I've been like I got a Terry, I love Terry, whatever. Maybe we'll talk about him right now. But he's definitely on my list. But I never wear the Terry jersey, and it kind of breaks my heart every time. I'm like, oh yeah, no, Terry just extremely like he won me so many games this
mhm.
year. I mean, he's kicking unlimited ass. No offense on any copyrights to the phrase unlimited, but he's got 4 games over 20 or more fantasy points. He's the wide receiver 4 on the year, and like sneakily 29 years old, like kind of getting up there. He was older when he came into the league. It's only his 6th season, but he's just been unlocked completely by having a quality quarterback in Jaden Daniels. So if you look at the numbers, he's got 82 targets right now. He's, about 60 to 70% of the way through the season. But like he's not going to hit his typical target highs of like 130 range, but he's getting so much more out of the targets that he has been getting is at 900 yards already, and he has a career high 9 touchdowns. So he's just doing all the things that we always knew he's capable of. Just needed some interference with the rest of the team contributing to level up all the way. So Terry, man, very surprising. Definitely slept on. Um, I'm seeing here, yeah, he was recently traded to me for
Mhm.
a second and a third
Yeah.
during our draft, our rookie draft in the offseason. So if you can get a player for a second and third that ends up being a top 5 at the position, what else? What else do you want to say about it? You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. Also on my honorable mentions was Terry McLaurin, and the
Love
only
that.
reason was because he made the playoffs in 3 of our 4 dynasty leagues, or my 4 dynasty, our 4. We're in all 4 of those together, aren't we?
Yeah, and I probably
Yeah.
roster him in all those. Those are all
That's
my number
why
two
he's an
teams.
honorable mention and not and not another guy because it's like, that kind of skews the numbers a little bit.
It does, yeah.
Like,
I definitely have a majority stakeholder in the Terry game.
so yeah, but no, absolutely, it's been great to see him have a good quarterback who can actually get him the ball. So yeah, that's awesome. I will just ditto you with a wide receiver real quick. I'm gonna go Jackson Smith and Jigba. 3 fantasy rosters of ours have him going to the playoffs. He's the wide receiver 9 on the year, 15 points per game, 3 games over 20 and 1 over 30. He's only 22 years old as well. And a lot of people were super down on him coming out of his first season last year. And so it's just nice to see him really kind of take off and be more of the guy that we thought him to be was or thought he would be. And that is, yeah, it's just awesome to me. And I'm really excited to see what he can do and how he'll continue to grow in this Seahawks offense. And it's, yeah, I don't know what else to say really. I just think he was kind of slept on, and it's just another lesson that like people are way too concerned about how these rookie years start.
Dude, yeah, and that there's a player later in this conversation that definitely plays into that conversation about overreacting to rookie years. I mean, first round draft pick, this guy is legitimate. We were all a little surprised that he had this slow start, but I mean, he's burying the competition when you're out targeting DK Metcalf, by 97 to 84, even
Hmm.
a little missed time. It says something. And I think there's a potential for him to be even more, you know, productive because he only has the 4 touchdowns. There's the Tyler Lockett sunsetting that has to be happening very soon. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So there's a potential for him to go even harder in his contribution. So he's on my list. So appreciate you teeing him up for me.
I got you.
You smoked it though, so I'm just gonna roll on
Okay.
um, into David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, he's on like all these freaking he's like every shimmy roster, every number one shimmy roster and a couple of the other ones as well. But um for me this is a surprise just because like how do they keep doing this with
I
these
don't know,
running
man.
backs? It's unreal. He has 11 touchdowns. He had 13 last year and it's it just doesn't make sense. So he's third, tied for third in rushing touchdowns, and he's on the team with a guy that has 10 touchdowns. So they have 21 combined rushing touchdowns. This is insane. I don't know what to think about it. Last year, the team had 500 rush attempts, and this year they're gonna do better than that somehow. So they're right now they're fifth in rush attempts. They were seventh last year. I just don't get it, man. It's beautiful and it's extremely efficient. But I'm just I thought it was kind of a one-off last year, and the fact that they've been able to just keep this going, it's just blowing my mind. He's missed a little bit of time. I think he missed a game in there, but he's still just chugging along. No, he
Yeah.
didn't miss any time, but I don't get it. What do you think about David Montgomery? Is this surprising to you, or were you like this? Of course, makes sense to me.
No, I have him on my list as well. He's one of two players on my list that are on all four or in the playoffs in all four of our dynasty roster or dynasty leagues. I mean, he's the RB10 with the RB5 on his team,
Right.
which is just crazy. 16 points per game, second straight year with over 10 touchdowns for the Lions. And I don't see that stopping, you know. And I mean, he'll slow down eventually. He has to. But yeah,
27.
I don't, I really don't understand how he just keeps going. But I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. He's just really crushing it, and he continues to be used in such the perfect way for Detroit. So I don't really see him slowing down either.
Yeah, when we did our running back longevity, he was one of very few players to be a top 24 running back every
Every
year.
year. Yep.
And this is going to be year six, and he was acquired in for the belt in the offseason for he was acquired for Kendra Miller in a second with getting a third back. So
Hmm.
yeah, that'll give you a playoff bump.
Yeah.
Mocap, we
Yeah, it
see
does.
you. I'm gonna lock you out with that Drake London move, friend. It's over now.
There you go. I
Um,
hope it happens.
well,
Goodness.
I've got one player left.
Oh, I haven't gone for
Yep.
yeah, after David Montgomery since I dittoed you. I have two. I'm gonna go with Nico Collins here.
Okay.
I mean he was the wide receiver like 12 last year. But then the addition of Stephon Diggs scared a lot of people. And it shouldn't have. I mean, I was kind of pounding the table this offseason that he would be the guy there, but I didn't even think he'd be this good. He's the wide receiver 17 with 5 games missed. He's
Yeah.
the wide receiver 2 in points per game at 19 and a half. He's on three of the rosters or three playoff rosters, which is a credit to them also for being able to lose a guy like that and still make the playoffs. But only 2 weeks below 15, and one of them was the first game coming back from an injury, and he's had four with 20 or more. I mean, he's just been incredible, and Houston has really found their wide receiver one, and as long as he's healthy, he's going to help a lot of people moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, it goes with another. This is like the whole. I feel like we could do a whole episode just talking about the Texans this year, um, because they're 8-5, which feels untrue if you've kind of followed them. I don't know how they're being successful because it was such a like a big deal, kind of a sexy thing last year, and then it's been injuries and kind of struggles and some fourth quarter letdowns. But like, yeah, still somehow they're just producing big time between Nico and Mixon, and they're still winning games. So. I don't know. This is kind of like a sleeper as far as the playoff race goes in the AFC. If you ask me, which nobody did, but here I am. So this is what we're gonna do. But I'm gonna end with a quarterback on
Okay.
my list. and it's Baker Mayfield.
Mm, mm.
Yeah, it's true. He's on multiple top two rosters in those couple of leagues. And I would have to say what's surprising to me is that he went through weeks without Mike Evans and without Chris Godwin, and he still kept it going. He kept everything happening big time. He's the quarterback six on the year. This team has turned into like this weird 1-2 punch in the rushing game, and yet still he persists as a highly productive quarterback. I think I mean, it's beyond surprising. To me, I think that going into the season, he probably could have been picked up really on the cheap. I think I don't know. I once traded him for DeAndre Hopkins or something like that. I can't even remember. But I don't know. Baker surprising the shit out of me. He's definitely found money and he's kicking all the ass. So
Yeah, I traded him away in a league where I could really use some quarterback help. Now, granted, it was to get JJ McCarthy, and then he got hurt, so it kind of was a wash, or not a wash, but like, who knows what could have
delayed
happened.
compensation.
Well, now I traded JJ McCarthy, but let's not go down that road.
Come on.
But yeah, Baker continually has been surprising. I really thought he would come down after a stellar first year with Tampa Bay, but he just hasn't, even with all the losses, like you've said. So it's really fun to see, first of all, just to see some of these guys that were cast aside, kind of make it somewhere else.
Right.
So yeah, and Baker's just been has been great. I'm gonna end with a tight end,
Okay.
and it may not be that surprising, other than the fact that you were a little down on him in terms of his rookie season.
Oh,
Um, and this is a position that usually disappoints, and we've seen a lot of disappointing, quote, generational talent.
okay.
Um, and Brock Bowers has set the standard for tight ends coming in as rookies. He's on 4 and 4 and in the playoffs in all four of our dynasty leagues. He's the tight end one on the year, and that just doesn't happen. And I know I'm gonna hear it. Oh, but Sam Laporta was the tight end one last year, Christian, and he was a
Oh, let me
rookie.
delete these notes.
Okay, well, let's compare these two seasons though. Points per game, Sam Laporta had 14. Uh, Brock Bowers has 16 and a half. Brock Bowers' week 13 stats are 113 targets, 84 catches, 884 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Sam Laporta's entire rookie season was 120 targets, 86 catches, 889 yards, and he has 10 touchdowns. That's what led him to being the tight end one in a down tight end year. So they're not comparable to me. The way that Brock Bowers has just taken the league by storm and has just become the tight end one, these two are not built the same to me, and it's clear with the way that Laporta has been used this year. And so just I mean, it's just surprising that he can just immediately show up and completely change a fantasy team. And I mean, he's on pace to like break the rookie receiving receptions record still, which Puka set literally last year, and he was a wide receiver. So I don't know, man. I just wanted to throw him in there. And then a quick honorable mention, you could basically just ditto everything we said about Joe Mixon and throw it to Josh Jacobs. And he could be on three of the rosters that making the playoffs in our dynasty leagues, but was basically kind of a forgotten guy and has just been awesome this season.
Yeah, he's been through so much. It's good to see him. He made it
Hmm.
through Gruden, dude.
Yeah, holy shit.
God, I'll never forget the things he said about Josh Jacobs as a pass catcher. They were all lies. It was all shameful. And then now he's living a much
He's
better
living the dream.
existence.
Yeah.
But Brock Bowers is definitely benefiting from his absence in Las Vegas because I have nothing but the highest praise for Mr. Bowers, especially to be pulling this off with only four touchdowns,
Hmm.
which gives you, as you were saying, I mean, if you look at Laporta's numbers with the 10 touchdowns, like that seems like something that could easily be taken away from him. But when Brock Bowers is building it off of not touchdowns, but just pure production and volume, I mean, it's a lot harder to take that away from a guy. Um, but I mean, I don't know. Sam Laporta, he's kind of, if you're ready to talk about disappointing players, I'm right there. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, Laporta's on the list, man. So while the
Okay.
conversation's hot,
Yeah,
um,
makes sense.
he's he's on multiple bottom of the league rosters, and it's a blow. It's this list is just heartbreaking when you look at it because you thought you had a locked and loaded guy like every week start, and now he's coming out with only 44 targets this year. Um, it's insane. He has more touchdowns, Brock Bowers, so he's got 5 touchdowns. That's beautiful, but this we've already talked enough about Detroit. This is not the Detroit podcast. This is the Houston podcast. But the fact that he's not getting the ball thrown to him an average of 5 times a game, it means he's not really a serviceable tight end. He's getting outplayed by an extreme number of guys. He's 16th ranked, which means that he's not getting the start in most leagues. And if you are starting him, you're pretty disappointed, and you're probably not making the playoffs, according to some limited research from the past few days of mine.
Yeah, I he's been heating it up a little bit more lately.
Hmm.
But yeah, like you're saying, if you were counting on him to win you games early in the season, that's just kind of gone. And I don't know, it didn't really hit the same way we thought it was going to hit. Now the Lions are just a great offense and have a lot of pieces. But yeah, it was interesting to see him kind of drop off so suddenly. Um, I'm going to keep it with the tight ends and a guy who I'm putting an asterisk by this, and I'll explain why about it in a second. But a guy who is missing the playoffs in all four of our dynasty leagues. Um, the asterisk is that he's on the playoffs on a playoff roster and won, and it's my roster
Oh,
in the roasted league.
oh,
But had I not drafted Brock Bowers, I would
hmm.
almost certainly not be in the playoffs because I would have had to start Kyle Pitts every week.
Oh,
And I
gotcha.
only played Pitts 3 times now. It was weeks 1 and 2, and then weeks 10, which was the Raiders bye week. And that's it. That I saw enough of what I needed to see from Brock Bowers after week 2, and I've started him every game since. Pitts is the tight end 16, which obviously sounds good in theory, but we all know the tight ends after 8 basically are kind of meh.
Right.
He's averaging 8.5 points per game, and he's had 2 separate weeks of 0 points. And this wasn't, oh, he got hurt and got taken out of the game. No, this was he got 0 points. It's frustrating because we all knew who he was supposed to be coming out, and he just hasn't lived up to that. But man, yeah, just disappointing all around. Thought the
Yeah,
Kirk
that's
Cousins thing would help him out.
no, I mean, yeah, the thought. Kirk Cousins, has he ever supported a receiving tight
Well,
end?
Hawkinson
Yeah, what
for a
one
bit.
year.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I always just think of Jack Conklin, but or Tyler Conklin, sorry. Jack Conklin sells cars in Kansas. It's the whole thing. I've always got those names flopped in my head because of radio commercials from my youth. But all right, no more to see here. Um, all right, can we talk about this is purely from my going through these rosters, but Daniel Jones is on a bunch of these rosters.
That's
Um,
fair.
it's there's not, I mean, kind of, yeah, yeah, it's kind of a bummer how it all went down. I was never super into him, but you never want to see someone like be kind of treated the way he was treated and just kind of fail miserably and get shipped out. But I think people were excited with the addition of neighbors. I think Daniel Jones and his rushing upside and kind of the energy with this team felt like someone you could maybe rely on. But he's on a lot of teams that miss the playoffs, and so I had to put him on this list. It's a sad topic.
I hear you. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I kind of I don't think I did this on purpose, but I kind of shied away from quarterbacks during this exercise.
It's tough.
But yeah, I was kind of in the camp that like I didn't think Daniel Jones would be much better, but just that Neighbors would get a fuck ton of targets all of a sudden.
Sure.
And well, not all of a sudden, but and be great. But I didn't know how much that would translate necessarily to Daniel Jones because I didn't think they were going to score a lot. So like these PPR things would obviously help out Neighbors, but not really Daniel Jones. And that's kind of the way it played out. I don't know how many touchdowns Neighbors has, but I bet it's five or under. Um, just kind of
Yeah, they're probably all in the first 5 weeks too.
yeah, and so
He
like
has three.
he has three. Yeah, so that kind of makes sense to me. That's kind of exactly how it played out. And all the best for Daniel Jones. Maybe he can learn in Minnesota and kind of do one of these resurgences like the other guys. But yeah, he's been fairly disappointing, especially guys that relying on him. Um, I'm gonna throw two out, kind of a little double feature here. It's the Miami duo at wide receiver.
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle, he's somehow in the playoffs in two of our dynasty leagues, which is crazy to
Yeah.
me, being the wide receiver 40 and 10 points per game. But it's really about Tyreek Hill. Um, he was traded to a playoff roster in one of our leagues like a week ago or so. So I don't really count it. I'm still saying that he was on three non-playoff rosters. Because that doesn't count to me. You don't get traded and all of a sudden you were he was on the reason the guy that traded him away isn't in the playoffs is partly due to Tyreek Hill. And I
Yeah.
know that like the Tua situation screwed him, but he's the wide receiver 20 on the year. And for a guy that like was made on these boom boom games, he's only had three games over 15 points this season. He's averaging 12.4, which is just not what you want out of him. He's on the wrong side of 30 now. And his previous fully healthy finishes are 8, 1, 2, 6, 2, and 2. So like
Mhm.
that's what you're expecting
It's a
out of him,
cliff.
and to not getting that and dropping all the way to 20 is just that's a rough fall.
Yeah, that's a tumble, man. He's going to be 50% fantasy point production over, compared to his career average,
Yeah.
or I don't know, he's post Alex Smith career average anyway. Yeah, he's on my list for everything you just said. It's like, Achan probably could have made the previous list, but I don't think it was that big of a surprise. But he's kind of the only thing happening out there. So
Hmm.
Johnny Smith's heating up. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool to see.
that's
But
neat, I guess.
he's outscoring Tyreek Hill in
Yeah.
fantasy, I believe. So enough said as far as disappointment. I mean, honestly, this has been one of the most I don't know, predictable years as far as the wide receivers go. If you look at the top guys, they're all the top ranked guys, like
Mhm.
1 through 5, easy, except for Tyreek. He's the one that tumbles. The rest of those guys are all holding up their reputations, and Tyreek is not. So it could be he's aged out. It could be that system is failing. It could be a whole lot of things, but it's definitely not a recipe for success. So,
Yeah.
Tyreek, try again next year, I guess, or whatever. Tyreek, you live in Miami now. Ah, shit dead to me, buddy. No, let's see. Tank Dell, man. Tank
Mhm.
Dell's on a lot of the rosters that
Yeah.
did not make
The
it.
hype on
And
him was for real.
dude, I'm like, I I historically am out on a lot of smaller guys. And pop year guys, but yeah, I wasn't really chasing much Tank Dell. I got no exposure, and I'm pretty happy about that because yeah, he's the PPR wide receiver 47, and I mean, he's getting a decent amount of work at this point. He's got more, or he's got as many targets as he did throughout the entire season last year. But the yardage is way down. The efficiency is somewhere around, 80% of what it was last year. He's only got 2 touchdowns compared to the 7 from last year. So it seems like it's not necessarily gonna hold up the way everyone was hoping it would. He does have a few like big games, 9 target games, since Stefan's been injured, but he's not coming through with big numbers. I don't know exactly what the solution is, but this team's going to the ground, and they're having a lot of success. So maybe it's just pivoting away from him. But Nico Collins is still killing it. So um, Tank Dell might just not be as good as everyone was thinking he was going to be.
Yeah, no, he just really hasn't. Even when their offense was actually doing pretty well. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I mean, other than just like him being able to be kind of bullied at the line of scrimmage, and they kind of figured that out. It seemed like I saw a lot of clips of him this season just being put in press coverage and then just it throwing everything off for Stroud. And then obviously the offensive line being kind of bad in
Mm,
Houston this year has thrown off that rhythm. And yeah, just the way Nico took over and then bringing in Diggs, I feel like anyone that was trying to convince themselves that Tank Dell was going to be the guy there when they brought in Diggs and then had Nico, I just think you were a little misguided. And you never know with this stuff. Sorry it didn't play out for them, but I'm with you. I wasn't super in on him either. I have no shares of Mr. Dell
uh,
either.
I can't believe
Um,
they're top five in the passing volume, man.
yeah,
That's wild.
that it is wild, which is crazy with how good Joe Mixon's been. I'm gonna throw out uh Michael Pittman here. Um,
Oh,
this is a guy who you kind of called that he would not have the season that he had last year. But it's been pretty abysmal even with that. Wide receiver 46, 9.4 points per game. Somehow he is only on two non-playoff teams, but I know actually how it is somehow because the two playoff teams he's on are ours in two different leagues.
yay.
Um,
Yeah. But I have
I
not started him once all
I was
year on
about
that
to,
league.
so not once all year. So I was about to literally ask, when was the last time you played him?
I think I
Um,
did start him like one time, but it was just a severe disappointment. So no, he's not a
yeah,
starter on my squad.
the last time I have started him in the league that I'm making the playoffs with him on was week 7.
Gotcha.
And that, so I think that kind of just says it all there. I kind of needed to rely on him earlier in the season. But I didn't
Hmm.
plan on it. I traded for Cooper Cup, and then Cooper Cup went down again, and I had to kind of pivot, and that was during that time frame. But yeah, he's just been a bitter disappointment, even with no matter who the quarterback is, Flacco, or Richardson. And yeah, so I just wanted to throw him out there quickly.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I think when Mike Evans first went down and I was seeing some bye weeks, I had to roll him out there. I gave him a shot. And yeah, it was such a disappointment. I don't even want to
Yeah.
think about, um, yeah, how unreliable he's been as a fantasy option. And it doesn't seem like that team's built to have the fantasy production that it once had under Philip Rivers. No, just joking on the Philip Rivers thing. But yeah, I know that we were kind of hoping that would work out a little bit better than it did. But I got one that's this is gonna sound weird. It's gonna sound weird when I say it out loud for a lot of different reasons, but I'm just gonna keep going. I'm putting Rashad White out
Hmm.
there
Okay.
because he is on a lot of rosters that are missing the playoffs, and he's had some very good weeks. He was up there. He had 29 points in one of his weeks, but for the most part, I feel like he's losing grip of his number one status in Tampa Bay due to a guy named Bucky Irving. Nobody saw this coming. It kind of blows everyone away, but Rashad, who has been getting like 6 or 7 targets in multiple outings this year, the past 2 weeks has only had 2 total targets, and his touch count has been under 12 or less pretty much all season. Whereas Bucky's out here just kind of taking the world by storm. So it's been a bit of a surprise how quickly this all happened. I think that it's going to keep going. It's going to get worse for him, and he's slowly going to, I don't know, be relegated to definitely a 1B, possibly a number two in that
Yeah.
backfield. And I think a lot of guys were hoping for better because he really crushed it last year. He was the running back four, and I don't think anyone really saw this coming. I think he got hyped up. No one thought a rookie fifth rounder out of Oregon was going to come in and make this guy, take a back seat. But it's happening in a big way now. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rashad White's last year RB4 season was wild anyway because his like rushing efficiency was not great, but he was still
no,
pulling that off. And yeah, we kind of knew it was coming back down to earth. I know you more than most were a big Bucky guy. So, yeah, I'm with you. Rashad White's definitely been a disappointment. I've had to trade for multiple running backs in a league just because he was kind of setting me up for fear. Actually, Chuba being awesome this
dude.
season is really what helped me out there.
I guess he should have been in the first conversation.
Well, the only reason he's not is because he's not on that many playoff rosters.
Oh,
Weirdly, I looked at that. Like he's been,
yeah. There is a criteria. You're right.
yeah, like I have him in a couple leagues and he's on my playoff rosters. But anyway, doesn't matter. I'm gonna get into I'm gonna shoot three names and then actually get into the guy I want to get into.
Okay.
Just to throw him out there. Najee Harris,
Mm.
just I know a lot of people were excited about him coming into this year again, and he's on three non-playoff rosters here. DJ Moore, just
Yeah.
expected more out of the Bears offense. And then Deontay Johnson, literally
Oh,
what the
jeez, dude.
fuck is going on with him? Like
So bizarre.
he's suspended now just for not going onto the field or whatever it was when he was asked to. Like just absolute nonsense there. But that leads me to Devontae Adams.
Mm.
Um, Wide receiver 37 on the year, just under 14 points per game. His last four finishes were 1, 2, 3, and 10. Um, so that's again kind of like Tyreek Hill. That's more what you're expecting. And then everyone got that mid-season bump of him going to play with Aaron Rodgers. And then that just completely cratered. And it's just been disappointing to see him kind of fall that hard. And hopefully this is just a weird Jets thing and he can come back, but he is older. And yeah, so he was sadly disappointing this year.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You know, when the words, I don't know the words. It's been a rough ride for everybody
Yeah.
that's been associated with the Jets this year. And it's I don't know. I can't feel bad for these folks because Aaron Rodgers is failing, which is kind of sweet, depending on your perspective. But man, everyone likes Devontae Adams, and this is twice now where he's been like moved to make the match happen, and it just doesn't go his way, and it's kind of a bummer. He needs to
Yeah,
give up on friendship quarterback situations. It's just not going his way. He
that's
needs to
fair.
go to the next generation, you know, younger.
Fair enough. Well, that's all the disappointments then, huh?
It is, yeah.
All
Tyreek was
right.
on there, so I slipped him in.
Gotcha. Well, do you want to quickly run through some IDP league winners real quick and then we'll get out of here?
Yeah, I will make it quick. I think I got a guy from your list. I don't know.
Probably.
Um, but I'm going with Zach Bond.
Had to. You had
Dude,
to.
so crazy. But
Ironically, not a league winner for the guy that has him in the D League because
mhm.
didn't fucking help me, except I scored a lot of points, but I'm still on the outside in. Anyway, that's me bitching. Go ahead.
No, dude. The thing that got me, and this is gonna crack us all up, is so you picked him up after week one for I think $41 fab bid.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is they played Green Bay. So you watched him play Green Bay
Mhm.
and have 15 tackles, 11 solo, two sacks, and you're like, well, this is a league winner. And he is. He's completely crushed, and I think he's number two in points, perhaps, in all of IDP players.
Mm.
And you picked him up off of
Off the
a
waiver.
waiver pickup, which all the
Hmm.
guys I have as league winners have been, in season
All of mine are as
acquisitions. That
well. Yeah.
there you go. So, yeah, he's killing it right now. He's having an epic year.
Hmm.
117 tackles, 2.5 sacks, forced fumbles, four of them. He's got an interception in there.
Yep.
Just killing it. He's the league winner by definition.
Yeah,
Picking him up.
absolutely. I have him as the linebacker three, but I might have written that down wrong or something. But he's had 5 weeks above 20 points,
Yeah.
which is just absurd. But yeah, 100%. I mean, this is the thing with these IDP guys. Until this league, and maybe it's in deeper Dynasty IDP leagues, you can let me know.
Hmm.
But or more longer standing leagues. These are the guys you got to find, the guys that all of a sudden get starting time, and just excel at it because they're a lot less on the radar for people. When somebody gets 15 targets, everyone and their mom is going to go after them on the waiver wire. But when a guy has 15 tackles and 2 sacks in a game, nobody bats an eye. So these to me, that's what you got to look for, especially those tackle numbers. I mean, 117 through 13 weeks is pretty absurd. I mean, that means you're at least what you're getting like around at least 13 a week, you know? So,
Yeah.
pretty crazy. Kind of picking up that waiver edition. This guy was picked up in October in our league.
Okay.
And I tried to hit defensive line, linebacker, and defensive back for the record. So I went with Nick Benito.
Oh.
He has come in and just been awesome. He's technically an edge, one of those hybrid
Okay.
defensive line linebackers. He's only had 2 weeks above 20, but only three below 10 as a defensive lineman, which is just really, really, really awesome. 36 tackles, 11 sacks
Wow.
for the Broncos, a forced fumble and an interception in there. And here's the kicker. He's still only rostered on 47% of leagues. Now, I don't know the sleeper algorithm. Does that only include IDP leagues or does that include just, but I'd be shocked if 47% of sleeper leagues were IDP leagues. So I think it
Well,
has to include.
yeah, TJ Watt is 97.4%.
Then
So
so yeah, it's just IDP leagues. So yeah, Nick Benito was a guy you could have gotten for fairly cheap. I didn't go and look up what the actual waiver edition of him was, but he has been awesome on a defense that has overperformed.
yeah, it was a free agent ad. So just hit the plus button next to his name,
Yeah.
which is yeah, that now that's pretty impressive, man. Like you're saying, dude, it's kind of crazy. All you gotta do is pay attention and there's so much turnover. I took over a league year two. The guy who had it before me, I don't know. He must have done okay because I'm doing pretty well with minimal changes, but I've just been turning over the defensive bench and just like finding little nuggets
Hmm.
and plugging them into the starting lineup. And it's been outrageous. If y'all aren't doing IDP, you got to do a little bit because it's just a whole nother world.
It's
And
fun.
it's like purely whatever you want to make it,
Yeah,
and drafting is next level. So,
I'm
um,
with you.
hell yeah. I liked Demarion Overshawn,
Yeah. Yeah,
Dallas
oh yeah.
linebacker.
Oh, and he's young too.
Yeah, yeah. So this is kind of throwback to a conversation that I was half starting when we were talking about Jackson Smith and Jigba. Because he was a third round pick out of Texas. I went to the Cowboys in 2023 last year, and he pretty much had no stats for his rookie year. And then all of a sudden, he came out week one and put up a sack and nine tackles, 20-point game right there. And he was picked up. He's had a game over 30. He's had a 29 pointer. But all in all, like he's only had four single digit games. He's double digiting, leveling up, kicking ass. And he was picked up after week one as a free agent ad, and I mean he's gonna be, let's see here, number 12 in all IDP players. So definitely given the bump to
Yeah.
Mr. Praxis.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, just like you're saying, I mean, we keep hitting it like these guys you can just grab. And then like somebody like Overshawn being so young and exploding, now you got that guy to at least hold on to see if he can keep it up. So really good move there. Another good move, getting the defensive back one and a waiver pickup after like week 2 or 3, which we mentioned it on our IDP waiver pickups that you guys should go out and get this guy, and I tried and failed. But Nick Cross, safety for the Colts, is the defensive back one right now. 125 tackles through 13 weeks. Throw a sack in there for good measure and 2 interceptions. 2 weeks below 10 and 8 weeks at 15 or above. Which is what to get that out of a defensive back that consistently can just really, really help you on the back end of your defensive player roster. So yeah, just again, like just pay attention to who's getting these tackles, who's getting the playing time. And you can really find these nuggets all over the field.
Yeah, I was kind of trying to, he's on my list as well. So good choice. I agree. I see a pattern though. I think we've got to talk about it
Okay.
because so Zach Bond picked up after week 1, playing the Green Bay Packers, had 15 tackles, and then Nick Cross, week 2, 15 tackles against the Green Bay Packers. I mean, are we supposed to just watch the Packers play and then just pick up whoever had the most tackles against them the next week?
I
Because
mean,
that's
it was
like
a good
two out of
strategy
three.
this year.
I mean, it worked out opening it up, but I noticed that I was like looking at when they were picked up, and I'm like, I'm just picturing you being like, man, fuck that one guy getting all these tackles, and then like putting in your waiver claim and scooping him up. You didn't get Nick Cross, but I feel like you very well could have, and now I've invited you to develop that new system, but.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've been having a ton of fun with the IDP, and I know you and I would both like to get it more active in the conversation going around here, and I think it's definitely a possibility. But
Yeah, we
this is a
should.
fun little dip into it personally.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. Yeah, we need to had I not been so busy this year, which hopefully next year and in the coming weeks will not be the case. And I can really we can develop some new content and really start hitting some stuff that we haven't been in the past. So I'm excited to move that going forward. I really love the IDP league. I wish I wasn't missing the playoffs with one of my literal best rosters I've ever had.
That
Um,
league was so, the guy in last place has like a lights out roster. I have no
yeah,
idea what's going
yeah,
on in that
it's
league.
it's so absurd. Just shows you the volatility of the um
The
of
IDP world, baby.
yeah, of the IDP world. But yeah, I'm excited to do that going forward. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Hell yeah, everybody enjoy your playoff push.
Yeah.
I took a lease out on your heart.